Let's be real. This year has been so difficult. We are trying to balance all the things homeschooling our kids, working full time, maybe being in business, being a good spouse or a good mother, and all the things. And then we deal with that mom guilt, that weight, and that heavy weight of feeling like, how can I be and do all the things for everyone? So today's video is going to be a little unique. I don't typically talk about parenting strategies or tips, but I felt extremely drawn to and led to sharing a little bit about a concept that I've created in my house that has really opened the line of communication this year more than ever, even though we've been using this for quite some time. So I used to work as a high school counselor and I loved it. I loved working with high school kids. But one thing that I found when working with high school kids is a lot of times they dealt with a lot of emotions or a lot of peer pressure or a lot of different situations that they didn't know how to tackle or handle. But because they didn't feel safe talking to their family, a lot of times they would make decisions based on what their friends told them. And if we can be honest, their friends weren't any brighter than they were. And so a lot of times that's why we have high school students who are making poor decisions. Even if you think of it from a scientific standpoint, like here's where all the bad decisions are. The frontal lobe isn't fully developed. And if the frontal lobe is like a brake, all the bad decisions come here. They don't have that brake, and then they just move forward and they make these bad decisions. And this is why it's so important for parents to create an open line of communication for their students, no matter the age. So as I started to learn this quite a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to create what I called a safe space for my children to be able to open up and share whatever is on their mind. Now, I'll be honest, sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's really small, sometimes it's really big. But overall, creating this safe space has really improved the line of communication within my household. What I've noticed specifically this year is that as they're homeschooling, it's really difficult to brainstorm, like, how do you separate home and school? Now home has become school. And even right now, they're learning as we speak. And it's really overwhelming to try to blend the two. But because we've been able to have this line of communication, it's allowed me to be able to support them in those different emotions. Because while I understand it from a parent standpoint, I've never lived that as a student. And I can only imagine or only try to comprehend it or only show empathy for them based on their experiences and what they're sharing with me. So if you'd like to incorporate the safe space in your home, let me tell you a little bit more about it and why you can utilize it and why you should utilize it, especially this year moving forward. So the way that the safe space works is if your children have something that they need to share, they simply can come to you and ask you, can they have a safe talk? And when they ask for a safe talk, your job as a parent is to provide a safe space for them to open up and share what's on their heart. Now, there's a couple of things you got to note. If they're asking for a safe talk in a safe space, there cannot be the same consequences or punishment or reaction that you typically would respond in that manner as, right? So for example, my daughter broke my recumbent bike. She was playing with a friend, they were bouncing and jumping on it, and they broke it. She asked me for a safe talk, which I immediately know, like, okay, I need to check with my emotions, I need to maintain being calm, and I need to make sure that I respond appropriately. And so instead of me like flipping out and be like, oh my gosh, you guys broke my bike and now I can't afford it and I'm so stressed, or whatever typical response that a parent may have, I chose to respond like, thank you so much for your honesty. Thank you so much for your transparency and communicating this with me before I had to find it out on my own. So now the consequence is, how can you do work around the house to earn money to help me replace the recumbent bike? And what did you learn from this experience of breaking that recumbent bike? So you see, it's a simple shift in response, a simple shift in your mindset, and it allows a greater conversation. And honestly, from that experience, that was about 2 years ago, from that experience, she's made more rational decisions. I remember when she had a friend over recently and they wanted to play on a hoverboard inside of the house. And she's like, no, I don't want to break anything because of that experience. It wasn't because she got penalized or punished or yelled at or anything like that. It was more of like, there was a consequence, but there was also a conversation that was created around that as well. From us creating these safe talks and creating a safe atmosphere where my children can open up, it has allowed them to even share bigger things that they have experienced. So for example, my older daughter, as she's moving into some of the latter grades, like the idea of peer pressure and some of the things her friends are teaching her, or some of the things she's seeing online that she has questions about. And while for most parents that can make you uncomfortable, that can make you overwhelmed, here's what you need to know. Your children are going to seek the answers, whether they get them from you, whether they get them from online, or whether they get them from their peers. So it's going to be in your best bet to be able to create those conversations so that you can shift the narrative so that it's actually truthful, so that it's actually aligned with their best intention and success in mind. Now, I'm not going to sit here in front and say that it's always easy to create this concept, that it's always easy to respond, but the more you do it, the more you get into the practice and you realize the outcome makes it so worth it. After years of doing this, now when they ask for a safe talk and I need to create a safe space, I know certain things. I may know, like in that moment, if they ask for it, I may need 5 minutes to calm myself down from whatever else happened in my personal life throughout the day. Or I may know, okay, I need to talk myself off a ledge, or I may know that I need to tap out my anxiety, whatever it may be, but it allows me to approach the conversation from a totally different mindset than if I were to be kind of caught off guard. Overall, this is a wonderful strategy to use all the time. It's a wonderful strategy to put in place no matter how old your children are, because honestly, they're going to come up in situations where they're going to need you, and you want to be that person that they can rely on, that they can count on, and that they can trust. But this year especially is going to be so important because you have to remember their communication have been limited with people outside of the home, and so that means they really need to lean into you, and your job is to be able to create that space for them to make that feasible. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you do try to create a safe space in your home, I'd love to hear feedback about how it works for you, what you're doing, what you like about it, what you're learning, all the things. So comment below and let me know. Make sure you hit like and subscribe it before you go. And until next time, I will chat with you guys later.